really uncomfortable with the fact that this would cost the taxpayers an extra $500,000 in going out for a loan. For the additional money, we already saved $400,000 in interest by borrowing $4 million from our own loan portfolio. We borrowed money intentionally as a good business decision and not going out for that loan now. We waited until construction will be finished so that the money can come in when the rents come in to start paying for it. That saved us almost $500,000. So to now go ahead and say, well, you know what, we want to add some more money to that, and it's going to cost you now another $500,000. I am not in favor of that. We have set this up. We have worked on this business plan. We have developed it and managed it and massaged it and edited it and changed it. And it's like, let's continue moving forward. I'd like to hear from Ms. Maddie about further. We keep talking about this. I mean, I feel like let's just be done with this and go on. But this issue about the normal course for infrastructure for water, sewer, and electric, if you could explain what that means so that it doesn't seem like what Commissioner Maxwell is saying, that we're now going after the taxpayers. We talked about this, that we would not know the amount of this infrastructure for the electric coming in and the water and how that was going to be arranged. But this issue for the normal course, if you could just elaborate on that and how people will know that we're not going after trying to dump more, as it's being alluded to by Commissioner Maxwell.
For the normal course of business, for the services or the infrastructure that we have on site already needs to be upgraded. And I don't have my paperwork with me, but
it was the last presentation.
Yeah, they're 30, 40 years old. So in the normal course of replacing the system, they have been budgeted, with the exception of the water, because West Palm Beach serves the water there. The service from the road is essentially just a service, so there's no fire protection. So in consideration of keeping the meters in the service with West Palm Beach, we need to build services on site large enough to provide fire protection for just that area. And
where's that budget?
that is not. That will be included in the cost of service study and a special rate developed to recoup those costs in the rate that we have to develop to provide services for those customers.
For the tenants,
For the
not
tenant.
for the general
For
population.
the tenants, that's correct.
Okay, because I just want to, if we can just be clear in that, just so that everybody, I'm sorry. Commissioner Maxwell?
Yeah, I want to try to keep
Yeah,
up.
for beach users. And the sewer has been budgeted, I think, for 2 fiscal years. And we added additional funds in FY12 because we realized we needed to add a lift station. And the electric is considered in just the cost to take the lines, the primary lines from overhead to underground with an in-house build and material that would come from our warehouse.
Commissioner Maxwell?
I need to try to keep up with some of the points that are being made here by the different participants. First of all, when we talk about increasing, adding additional interest charges to any potential loan, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Carr, this loan was intended to be paid back by the revenues generated by the tenants, is that correct?
That is correct.
So then there
At the
wouldn't be a
$6 million
cost.
rate,
Right,
$6
there's no
million
cost.
amount.
The whole idea was this project would pay for itself.
The building project would pay for itself, yes, sir.
Okay, so there will be, ultimately when we do this, there won't be any cost to the taxpayer, because we're going to pass that cost along to the tenants.
As far as the building goes, yes, sir.
No, sir, that's not what I asked you. I said if we were to do it the way I proposed, I think we...
Maybe I can back up and answer your question in a different way, Commissioner Maxwell. The $6 million loan that is the cost of the building was always anticipated to be paid back, and that the rents would generate enough dollars to do that. The infrastructure pieces that we're talking about are not taxpayer costs. Those infrastructure pieces are paid from rates, not from taxes.
Will my rate be impacted at my home?
Will our rates go up? That's the question I asked from the very beginning. Will our electric rates go up to fund?
No more than replacing the service lines in any other section of town, because in the normal course of maintaining a system, we have to replace it.
But isn't monies budgeted for I mean, when we talked about, I'm just confused as to.
The money is budgeted for electric and for sewer, and it has been, and the money for water has to be included in the rate that we must develop, because the
For
utility.
that.
For water, for that,
And for that area.
For that area
the
only.
Casino area.
because the utility did not bill water, has not billed water traditionally to those customers. The customers, I guess their rate was included in the rent.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I just keep wanting to go back to this. Will the citizens of this city, will their utility rates go up any way, shape, or form from this project? Or was this money budgeted into infrastructure repairs for the city? Will their rates go up 1 penny because of this project? Is the question.
No, no.
This money was budgeted, this
But
is.
it's already budgeted, that's correct.
Okay, Commissioner.
Then I've got a couple of questions. You just mentioned a moment ago about the water that was needed for fire suppression. Why do we have, that was related to the building, isn't it?
That's related to that, the need to serve the fire protection to our building yet.
That's right. Why was that not included in the $6 million in the building?
Because we have to develop a rate, a water rate for those customers.
Because we're not supplying.
Because we don't have a
Let me
water
ask
rate
it
for them.
another
We
way.
don't
If
currently have a water rate for them.
If we had done it if the building had been constructed a different way, could we have saved money on the infrastructure upgrade?
I don't know that I
Let me be
understand
more
it.
specific.
Okay.
If there'd been a fire pump included into the construction of that building, would we need to go through all this convoluted process of redoing the water system on that beachfront?
Well, we don't have fire protection for our pier and the building on the pier.
That's not my question. If we had a fire pump in that building, the building that we're building, would we have would we have to go through all this process of redoing the water on the beach?
Yes.
Why?
I believe that all of the water lines that are currently there are going to be torn up in the construction, and they're too small to serve.
A pump doesn't
I
do
mean,
any
that they're very old.
Let me just get to the point. Ms. Margolis, did you assert that the infrastructure that we're talking about, whatever it's 1.8, whatever, exclusive turn lights or whatever, did you assert that the county isn't going to pay for that?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to read an email that I sent to the county last week on this issue regarding the interlocal agreement.
That's not really, that's not a part of this discussion.
Yes, it is part of this discussion.
About whether we're gonna go out on a loan,
No, this is part of the discussion.
doesn't sound like it.
Well, okay, that's fine. I sent my email to Shannon Woodrow, she's the Assistant County Administrator, and it reads as follows. Upon review of our interlocal agreement with the county, I have a couple of questions to speak to exhibit items A1 and A3, which is a list of scope of work that the county agreed to pay for. There were 17 specific items and I think 9 bullet points.
Yes.
Within the scope of those 17 and 9, they spoke to utilities, underground utilities, and some other infrastructure improvements. The response that I received back from her through one of her assistants was, Commissioner, regarding the agreement for funding the improvements at the Lake Worth Beach, Exhibit A1 is the project description and A3 is the cost estimate. Both exhibits list 17 numbered items along with 9 bulleted items, and all items, I repeat, all items are intended to be covered by the $5 million appropriation. So where are we? Why are you telling us that the county won't pay for these infrastructure improvements?
That original budget included, as you said, 17 items. That it did not include, it included, I don't have it in front of me, but it did not include, as budgeted items, the infrastructure.
Well, I'm sorry, the email that I got here speaks to the contrary. So either you're incorrect or the county's incorrect, and I tend to believe them, they've got the money.
Okay.
So that's where we are, folks.
So, okay, getting back, did you have a?
Mayor,
Okay.
if it's the commission's wish to amend and change the funding plan for this project or these projects, I don't think doing it on the fly is the right way to go about doing that. I would suggest that this would be a much more appropriate discussion to incorporate within the guaranteed maximum price discussion and the budget amendment discussion that will come from that when we get to the beach part of the plan.
I respect everybody's opinion on this. I mean, quite honestly, I respect each and every person's opinion. My concern is, we're sitting here in a situation, the next item is up here on the agenda in regards to the leases, and I understand, Commissioner Maxwell, exactly what you're saying. Where is the money coming from? So I asked the question again, will people's bills be increased by this? Was the money set aside to handle this? Because I think we can move this, Mr. Carr, exactly as you said, to another discussion to go through ways of which to finance this.
Well thought out and with.
And
but from-
I really would like to get to the bottom of what that email is in regards to, is the county covering it, or are we covering it? And why are we covering it if the county's covering it? I mean, that certainly is a good thing, and isn't that a lovely windfall we could possibly have there?
I think the issue with that is there's only
$5
$5
million.
million. You can spend it on infrastructure, maybe, if that's correct, or you can spend it on the parking lot, or you can spend it on other things. I mean, there's only $5 million.
Gotcha.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
we had this conversation when the turtle lights came up. And I think my exact comment was, here's a classic example of trying to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. And that's what we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of elements, a lot of things that the prior commission wanted to see in this $5 million project. And my guess is, my speculation is, because I'm not a designer or a contractor who cost estimates things, that when we sat down and tried to accommodate everybody's needs, there wasn't enough money, as Mr. Carr just said, to put the infrastructure in place. Yet the $5 million was intended to cover infrastructure for the project. So very early on, the decision was made by somebody, nobody wants to fess up, but conversations took place where we have to find a way to pay for some extra expenses here related to these projects. And those extra expenses were never disclosed publicly to this commission. Never. In the 2 years that I sat up here red-faced trying to figure out what these projects were going to cost us. And it was only a few weeks ago that we finally got the numbers. And frankly, I don't think we've gotten that far had the issue of the turtle lights not come to the forefront. And that was another issue that I pointed out that was included in the Kimley Horn contract as an add alternate that the staff also knew we needed to have on this beachfront project to make it all come together. So this has been some kind of an effort over a period of time, basically not to tell anybody too much, so we could get to the point, as Commissioner McBoyd just said, well, gee, aren't we just happy that we're at this point, we're going to make this happen? Ladies and gentlemen, this building will be built. The building is going to be built. It's not going to be stopped. So anybody that tells you that I'm trying to stop the project is misrepresenting reality.
Point of order, Commissioner Maxwell, please. I would like to,
Okay,
I've
so
given
that's
you,
where we are.
no, I've given you plenty of leeway. This is your item on the agenda. We've discussed it back and forth, and I feel really confident with moving in the direction of discussing it later. I'm disappointed in the additional monies. I'm disappointed that we're in this situation. And I think the reason why we had earlier in tonight's meeting, when we moved things from the agenda, is that things need to be given the time to explain, to research, to bring to the public, to whatever. We need to make sure that, and I understand everyone feels when you're in the middle of it, you feel that you've done it, but again, in my personal opinion, not this board's, you know, things have been done in ways when we say, is that the bottom line, we often think, especially the general public, when you say that's the bottom line, baby, that better be the bottom line. You know what I mean? And that, not the additional monies. Now, I come to it and I say, is it going to cost, because right now, we are going to build, when you mentioned that, we are building this beach project, and we are building the casino, and we are moving forward, but in the meantime, what does it mean, and I'm gonna think very simply in regards to this, is my bill going up? This is what people need to know. What is my plans? How is it gonna change my life? How is my family gonna have to budget? What is it gonna mean to me? You know, that's what people think when they hear these things. We can talk in numbers all we want. And that's fine, and we can create as many pie charts and graphs to describe to people, but either way, they're gonna wanna know how it affects me, my life, and how I budget, and how many groceries how much money I spend on groceries, and whether my kid's gonna go to daycare or not. So I really want us to try to think of it in regards to moving in the forward direction. That, we look at things on how best to explain it and what it's gonna be. Good, bad, and different, how we vote, how we don't, makes no difference. But we need to see it displayed, understand it, know it, live it, learn it, be it. And do it.
And do it.
Exactly.
And-
Because I don't want these things to keep